What is up, Missouri Tiger football fans? It is week 2 of the season. The Missouri Tigers are heading to Faurot Field, a home game against Buffalo after that 51-0 win versus Murray State last week. And this is the pregame show where we get together, have a little fun, talk about the last game just a bit, and then looking forward to the game for the weekend. And unlike the coaches and the players, we kind of like to tease a little bit of the games that are coming up. And I'll tell you what, the first thing I want to address is if there is anyone out there that comes across this video and you have this inkling to want to talk Missouri Tiger football and you want to come onto the show with me, let me know. Shoot me a message. You can't really do it on YouTube. You can, if you want to leave something in the comments, we can try to hook up or something. The best bet is to shoot me a message on Instagram on the Tossing Salad podcast account. But if you are watching this on our sister channel, TSP Sports, get a hold of me. Let me know if you're a Tiger fan and you'd love to come on. You don't have to have really any background or experience in being on camera. You are going to have to be on camera for us to do this, but I would love to, just kind of talk a little Tiger talk, right? Going into the games. You don't have to do it every week, but if there's one, let's put the invitation out for post game for the Buffalo, right after the Buffalo game, if you want to come on and talk about the Buffalo game, or heading into next week with BC coming into Columbia. So let me know. The invitation's there. Get a hold of me, and would love to have you on. I saw a post earlier today, and I feel funny about this, right? You come across certain posts and you're like, am I dreaming? Is this reality? What bizarro universe am I in? But PFF College, Pro Football Focus, put in a 2025 NFL mock draft graphic today. And I'm scrolling through, looking up, my sports news that I do in the morning. Lo and behold, the very first picture I see is of Mr. Luther Burden, our Missouri Tiger wide receiver, as the predicted number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Now, there's a lot of season to be had. A lot of things can go one way or the other, but it's not something we're used to, right, Tiger fans? We've had our fair share of first rounders. Don't get me wrong. Missouri's done a really good job of getting players drafted to the next level. But to see somebody that has the possibility of going number 1, and most people outside of Columbia wouldn't say it's a joke, this is something special. And especially coming out of this last week, where a lot of the highlights with Travis Hunter, the game that he had, and that one just crazy catch. Travis had a really, really good game also for Colorado. And coming out of that game, and then, Burden, he was fine. He had that one fumble on that kind of a trick play. He had the touchdown. But it goes to show you that what they're looking for going into the next level, going to the NFL, it's so much more than just kind of highlight reels, and it's so much more than on a week-to-week basis to where your stock is really swinging widely up and down. That could happen for some players, but for others, you have your book, you have enough content there for the scouts and the teams to kind of know what they're looking for. And again, for Luther Burden to be at the top, just in that conversation, top 5, top 10, first round, for him to be there and nobody point and say, and especially outside of the Columbia area, and say, well, that's photoshopped. somebody's having a go. The fact that you can argue and make the case that Luther Burden can not only go first round, top 10, top 5, but as the number 1 overall pick, absolutely crazy. Here's hoping that Luther and the boys stay healthy and a successful season. But on to our game against Buffalo coming up this week. It is Saturday at 6 o'clock. I believe it's on ESPN Plus. So whatever channels that you have or subscribe to, it looks like ESPN Plus should have the Missouri game. And if it doesn't, what I have found so far is that if you just go to YouTube and type in Missouri football versus whoever they're playing live, there's like a handful of pirated accounts that are streaming the game, which is the weirdest thing. And YouTube's even running like ads and stuff for them. So these channels are like monetized. They're getting YouTube ads on them for content that they're not supposed to. I don't know. I do my best to make sure that I try to find the channel, the station, whoever has the rights to it. And then for whatever reason, sometimes it's just hard to figure that out. SEC Network, I don't know. Sometimes it's ESPN, ESPN Plus. I guess this year, what is it? ABC has the SEC, whatever. But if you don't have ESPN Plus tomorrow for the Buffalo game, shoot on over to YouTube. Just do a little clackety clack on the keyboard, and the game should pop up. At least it has for several of the games that I've been watching the last week and a half or so. But let me know if it's working for you or not. But that game tomorrow, Buffalo's coming off a win that first week, and the press conference for Drinkwitz earlier in the week was kind of interesting because somebody had mentioned and asked him the question, the difference of basically scouting out a Buffalo team versus that first week against Murray State. Because remember, Murray State basically had a whole new coaching staff, all new players, basically. There was really no video reference that people can, that the coaches could go over and find a lot of stuff on Murray State. In the end, did it matter? No, but it's one of those things where even though the game was 51-0, it's not only the players that are practicing and getting their reps in versus teams like this early on in the season. You have to remember, it's also the coaches in learning how to finesse the scouting of video and how to scout these teams and how to find certain things. Every year you have all new, you're going to have a whole bunch of new players coming in. You're going to have different coaches in there. The system you're using is different. So not only is it important to get the player and the player rotation in early in the season, even on these games to where it seems like a pretty big mismatch, it's also for the coaches and the video staff to practice and hone in on scouting out these other teams. So that first week seemed like it was kind of an issue a little bit on that part of the game and getting prepared to play Murray State. The good thing about coming into this game against Buffalo is Buffalo had a game. There's some video out there on them. I believe a new coach over there with Buffalo. So I know Drinkwitz had said that there's some things that they can kind of go off of for that first game, but in the end, it's going to come down to Missouri kind of executing their game plan. Buffalo and whoever Missouri ends up playing will have some say in what Missouri is going to have to do, right? That's just part of playing football. But as long as Missouri can go out there again, try to stay healthy and run and execute what they're wanting to do, and then fix some of the issues that Drinkwitz highlighted in the presser, they should be good to go for this game. Now, obviously, when Drinkwitz got up there and he's talking about Buffalo, gave them a lot of shout outs and kudos, a lot of respect that way. So no locker room kind of, stuff that they can hang up on the whiteboard or something, just get them motivated. Just talked about the special teams and a little bit of I believe Drinkwitz either worked with or what did he say? He had some interactions with the coach from Buffalo a few years ago. Did he mention like NC State or something? Maybe I'm trying to remember what he had said in his presser on that. But there were a few things that I know Drinkwitz had kind of brought and spoke about with regards to what did the coaching staff see from that last game that they need to improve on. And this is always one of those, it's one of those things to where in these press conferences, you want to, as fans and the reporters, you're trying to get some meat and potatoes out of the coaches to get an idea of what's going on behind the scenes with the team. And as a coach, you're wanting to do the very least amount of giving away too much information. So it was kind of interesting that some of the things that the Tigers needed to work on, and it was all kind of small stuff that he had mentioned about, receivers running deep enough routes they're supposed to, and that kind of goes back to the one play that I think I talked about, and the announcers on the Murray State game had talked about. I think it was a third down play right before half or something, and I forget. I don't know if it was Theo Weiss or somebody on the right side made a catch, but it was short of the first down, and the receivers needing to know where they are on the field during the game in certain situations. So it was kind of interesting to hear Drinkwitz just kind of throw that out there, which it's almost kind of a gimme because we all kind of noticed that also about the receivers running deep enough routes. He had mentioned also he saw enough out of I was getting ready to say Locke. He noted, or he saw enough out of Brady Cook to feel comfortable to get Pine in there to get some reps there also. And Cook is just going to have to, work on getting some completed throws, especially those deep ones. I know they kept kind of saying that Brady Cook had been working on those all summer, those deep balls. And I watched probably 3/4 total of the game that I had time for. And the ones that I saw, I don't think there I go again. I don't think Cook hit on any of those deep passes. They were within 3 yards or so. So, I mean, he was right there with the receivers. Now, whether or not it was maybe the receivers coulda, shoulda, woulda caught those or not, in the end, it's up to Cook to make sure to get the ball into their hands. So I'm sure that probably this week he's been working on that also with all of the receiving core that he's got. And we're going to see some deep plays finally connect in this Buffalo game. Injury wise, I believe the one question mark a lot of us had, the worry was at tight end. And that was Norfleet. He was taken out as a precaution. They asked Drinkwitz about Norfleet, and he said because of I guess there's new injury reporting for the SEC. So he goes, you guys, meaning the media and the fans, we will know first thing at the end of, I think, Wednesday and then Thursday. Each day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday morning is when they're going to report, additional information on him. It didn't sound like Norfleet was hurt, extensively, or there wasn't an issue there. I have not looked to see. Let's just double check to see if. It looks like Norfleet is unavailable for the Buffalo game. shoulder injury that is considered week to week. So a game coming up to where they can rest Norfleet to make sure that he's ready to go. So he will not be available for the game tomorrow. But other than that, I have not seen any other issues with injuries as I'm scrolling through right now. The only other thing that he had mentioned that was kind of interesting, and I saw a couple posts from sites that kind of rank players based off of their play, and I was interested to see some information come out on that offensive line for the Tigers. And I believe like the center was rated fairly high for centers in the SEC. And then the interesting thing that Drinkwitz mentioned, and I think this was after looking over some video of the games and stuff, he explicitly mentioned the big boys, two of the big boys on the offensive line that, according to him, got pushed around a little bit, which was a little, I think he was kind of giving them a little dig on that. So I'm kind of curious specifically who he was talking about on the line. I'm just kind of scrolling through here to see if there's been any other information released on that. Nothing that I see, but that was about all that I could kind of get from his press conference. Just seems like they're going to go out and really focus in on the one-on-one battles, making sure everybody's kind of doing their job, but collectively together. When everybody's winning their one-on-ones, the collective of the team is going to fare pretty well. So he had mentioned Craig with the field goals. I think he went 3 for 3 on the field goals, and talked about this was an interesting comment that he had made also, in that you're constantly battling for your position, that there's really no locks on the team. Right? I mean, on some there probably are, but this culture of you're consistently having to prove yourself, and if you're having a bad day, there's somebody ready to take your spot. And he had talked about with the kicker that there was a time, I think it was it last fall, early in the spring maybe, where Craig was not having, he just didn't have it with him, just wasn't looking very good. So kind of moved some guys around a little bit just to keep him on his toes. So definitely a thing that they are trying to remind all of the players that are there, and especially at this level with your top 20 teams. Really, I mean, almost every football team, but when you have so much talent, especially in the SEC, and the Tigers look to be pretty deep, you really can't have a day off. You can't have a bad day, because there's somebody right behind you. And that's going to be the difference maker as the season wears on and you get into this SEC schedule. When you get to games like down at Texas A&M, when you get to the Alabama game, you get to that Oklahoma game, it's going to be not only your starters and are they winning those one-on-one battles, but at some point you're going to have to rely on the depth of each position, and are those guys going to be ready? So that was an interesting talking point that he had discussed with him. The only other thing I thought was kind of interesting was his talk, and it was about the depth of the team and that they're getting there. And last year it got to the point to where they got down to playing only 2 linebackers, just because they didn't have guys below that were ready to showcase, ready to do their jobs on the field. This year it's looking to be a little bit different. I know that he said the depth is looking a lot better this season. And we already know that the receiving core, you got 5 fantastic receivers, and which is all the tools that a quarterback desperately needs, much less a guy that could go number 1 overall in the NFL draft with Luther Burden. But you have 5 other receivers that Cook can go to. So I going into tomorrow's game, I am really kind of excited to see them take another step forward in getting prepared for the SEC season. And last week I had mentioned we're all kind of looking forward, with the exception of the coaches and the players, because they're focused on game of the week. As fans, it's just part of what fans do, right? We look down the road a little bit, and everybody has the Alabama game and the Oklahoma game kind of circled, as those are going to be the ones that kind of determine if Mizzou slips up and loses one of those two, do we have enough to be in position to still make the college football playoff? I think losing one is going to be pushing it. Losing two or both of those, I just can't see Mizzou being in the mix. But my thing was, aside from those two games, I am most worried about that Texas A&M game down there because of Texas A&M. Like, that could be the game early on in the season, before we even get to Alabama, before we get to Oklahoma, that on the road, and I believe that's our first road game in a very tough environment, and Texas A&M coming off that loss to Notre Dame at home, that I'm super nervous about that game. But, well, as things so were to happen this past week, I may have to even revise that and move that worry back a few weeks, because now I'm kind of a little concerned. I'm a little concerned with the BC game next week. That's going to be a Faurot game. That's at home. So not too much cause for concern, but they did beat Florida State. Florida State is not good this season, or at least they're not starting out very good. I have a hard time finding any sympathy for Florida State or their fans, simply because how last season kind of ended and how put off they were that they were kind of left out. Nobody felt bad for Georgia, although, I mean, Georgia not only did what they had to do in their bowl game. They showed up. They all wanted to play their bowl game, but they came out of this season and came out with a fantastic win versus Clemson. Florida State's kind of just dropped the ball on their first two games. I don't feel sorry. I'm sorry, but I don't feel sorry for Florida State. But BC took care of Florida State, and it makes you kind of wonder. It's like, you have an off game, you make too many mistakes, BC could jump up and bite you. So that'll be an interesting one to kind of worry about for next week. Going into tomorrow, the Buffalo game, it should be another one to where we get the number ones in, get the starters in, everybody gets out with showing the coach and the staff enough to be like, okay, let's get some of the other guys in, let's get the rotations going, and let's start working on this depth to get us ready for these big games further down in the schedule. But it should be a beautiful day again tomorrow at Faurot. I'm looking forward to kind of planning out my afternoon. It should be a fun weekend of football for me here. I get to watch. So my youngest son is at Ole Miss, so I'm gonna have to. I feel nasty having to watch an Ole Miss game, but I'm gonna do it for him. So he's at his first year down at Ole Miss, so we'll be watching the Ole Miss game, and then my older son is at West Point, so we'll watch, if we can, the Army game. I believe they're on the road tomorrow. I'll have to find out exactly what time that they're playing, and then we have the U.S. men's national team playing against Canada, and of course Mizzou at night. So again, let me know if you have interest in just coming on and having fun, talking some Tiger football with me. I invite you on. Looking for somebody, if you want to come on for the post game of the Buffalo game. I'm going to try to do it almost after the game is done, at least Saturday night, with the post game, and just kind of, talk about what we saw with the Tigers in the game. And then going into next week, we'll have the pregame for the BC. So if you're interested in coming on and talking some Tiger football for that, let me know, get a hold of me, and we'll make it happen. So that is the pregame show for Buffalo, and we'll see you tomorrow. MIZ.